So during the last class, we have seen about the open source, the benefit, the advantages at the international level, at the national level, what are the different real-time applications and the benefits of the open source. The major benefit is of the localization, and there is no piracy issue. And one can customize Linux according to their own needs and almost virus-free. So now today we'll see about the open source installation process, some environment, and what are the applications in engineering and scientific applications. So one of the major application is on the cloud is hypervisor. So this hypervisor is further classified into two categories. Type 1 and type 2. So anyone has idea what is type 1, type 2? So in type 2, now we are using type 2. So in type 2, you have the hardware. Above the hardware, you have some operating system. It could be Mac operating system, Linux operating system, or Windows. On that, you have the hypervisor, or other name is virtualization software. So just I'm writing here, H stand for hypervisor. And on this hypervisor, you can install multiple operating systems. Now the problem is that if this operating system get crash, so all the machines will get, they will not be able to work properly. So because of this reason, in real-time application, in various industrial applications, in cloud computing, and directly on the hardware, there is a type 1 hypervisor. So there is no overhead of this operating system also. So in cloud technology, in various industrial applications, they are using this. So this is one of the major application, virtualization software, which we can use for various scientific applications and research purpose. Now, how to see the source code in open source? So there are two bigger platforms. One is the github.com. Another is the sourceforge.net. In addition to that, these are the websites where you will get the research articles, research thesis, and whatever the technology you are interested, you can explore these open courseware from MIT University. Then this is one link for Directory of Open Access Journal, where you will get thousands of journals in open access. For your literature survey, for your research area, you can explore these journals. Then now you want to learn some skill, Python, PHP, some Linux environment, latex programming. So this is a blog or platform developed by the IIT Bombay, spoken tutorial. You can learn these skills. Then for artificial intelligence, there is a leading India.ai. So here is my one question. Had we explored this earlier? Otherwise, we will skip this. Had we explored this earlier?
Yes, sir.
Leading India.ai. So you can go there and you can see the various project ideas, resources are there. Then alternate of proprietary software, osalt.com. Now there is also opportunities for the students to go for internship and to submit the project idea. Every year you will get this summer internship, even for 2021 they will release on the given link. And also you will get the research areas under this Eklavya project. Now, what are the real-time and open source tools? Some of the tools I have jotted down in the presentation, which we can implement for our research and development, for our education purpose, and also being adopted by the industry. So one of the major software is Scilab, because in industry, the MATLAB is very costly for industrial applications. So Scilab is being used and it is very efficient for numerical computations, handling various programming environments, functions, libraries, etc. So this is the alternate of MATLAB, Scilab. Then for grid computing, we have the software NGrid. So whenever we have to challenge when we have to handle the problems in distributed resource sharing, we can use NGrid, open source software for grid computing framework. It is written in C hash. Then we have other grid computing tools like Open Grid Computing. Then for distributed and cloud computing tools, we have Cloud Sim Simulator, Globus. Most of us, we are using Dropbox, Google Drive. So even we can make our uh, own cloud, similar kind of application. So on the intranet or in a particular network area, we can using this on cloud, we can develop the same application where our data will get sync. Then other open source tool for high performance computing and networking is HPC, computational fluid dynamics, quantum chromodynamics, parallel computing, OpenFOAM. And for data mining tool, we have one of the tool is Weka, another we have Rattle, then we have K9 and many more. Also, we have the tools like Orange, Rapid Miner, and for extraction transformation loading tool, we have the Scriptella ETL. Then we have the Weka tool for data mining and machine learning. When we have to compare or when we have to implement the problems related to classification, regression, and clustering, we can use this Weka tool. So even there are tools are there. This is very nice tool, ImageJ, then freely. Even for molecular dynamics, we have a number of softwares. And even for whenever we have to visualize, analyze the carbon allotropes for under the nanotechnology, we have very good software, NITTTR. And these are the other resources. And this is a guide for Linux. Let's say you are interested to deploy mail server, DNS server, proxy server, Squid server, then Samba server, different type of servers. So very nice tutorials are given on this link related to the Linux server installation and administration. And on the kernel.org, you can get the source code of the kernel. So we will go through these in the coming sessions. Then for cloud related, Linux Foundation has launched two courses. One is on OpenStack Cloud Architecture and another is on the Linux Enterprise Automation. And these are the resources of websites. You will get the materials, the Linux books. Then for data, you have the opendatacommons.org.guide and etc. Now we will see today about the installation process. So today see about what are the Linux what is the process in Linux installation, the Linux installation process, the Linux desktop, and what are the different OS or flavors of the Linux are there. So how many among you have already installed the Linux? Either you can unmute or reply on the chat box. How many among you have installed the Linux?
Sir, 1, 2.
Okay. What about other students? Which distribution you have installed? So in case if you are not installed, then you do one thing. You can go for dual booting also if you have less RAM, or first you install VirtualBox, then you create the environment there. Then there are two steps are there. So when we say create environment, that means you have to mention how much hard disk space you want to give, how much RAM, the resources, and other. Then second step is that install. Now we'll see the installation process. So first you need to download. So to download the Linux according to the flavor, you can go to the official website. Like if you want Fedora, CentOS, Red Hat, or Scientific Linux, Ubuntu, Debian. So you go to the respective official website like Debian for Debian.org, Ubuntu.org, Fedora.org, CentOS.org, etc. Or you can go to the distrovas.com, or you can go to the distrovas.com, or even you can install the, if you are working for an Indian context in Indian language or under some project, even you can install BOS, Bharat Operating System Solution. It is available at bosslinux.org also, as well as on the distrovas.com. So here I have taken an example of the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So once you boot your machine, so what is the first step? When you download the ISO file, ISO is nothing but the image of CD, either of CD or DVD ISO. If you are not using the virtualization, then you need to make it into bootable. You have to burn either in CD or DVD, depending on the size, or in the pen drive. Then you need to boot from this. When you boot, you will get this kind of screen there initially. Now there you will get the option whether you want to go in the graphical mode or text mode. So as a beginner, you must go for the graphical mode. Otherwise, you can go for the Linux text mode also. Linux text mode is very fast as compared to the graphical mode. And for remote installation, you must have the knowledge of the some Linux internal Linux commands. Then you will get the screen like this. Like similarly in the case of Ubuntu, you will get the screen like this. And on the left side or on the option, you will get the options. What is the meaning of tab? What are the shortcut? What are the hotkeys are there? What is the meaning of space, enter? What are the hotkey with the command combination? Then it will ask for the language, which language you want to pursue. Then you can proceed further. Then again, let's say in this example, if you select English, then it will ask for the whether it's a US English, Indian English, UK, or you can select the language. Then it will ask for the disk partitioning option. And this menu will vary from distribution to distribution. So now when you do, there are two options, automatically partition or manual partitions. So when we talk on the partitions, there are three type of partitions are there. So partitions, primary, extended, and secondary partitions. Now, how many maximum primary partitions we can make either in Windows or Linux? Please reply on the chat box. How many maximum partitions we can make? In Windows or Linux? Please reply on the chat box. If you are making manual partition, this information is very important. So how many maximum primary partitions we can make either in Windows or Linux? Because after the virtual box, you have to install the operating system. And that will be the, just like you are installing on the raw machine, it's in the real environment. So my question is that whether you install in a virtual environment or in a real environment, it doesn't make any difference. Remaining process is same. So if you are making customization of the partitions, so my question is that partitions are further classified into three categories: primary, extended, and secondary. So how many maximum primary partitions we can make, how many maximum extended partitions we can make, and how many secondary partitions we can make? Anyone has idea?
No, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I think primary is the maximum 4 partition is there, and secondary maybe 3.
So one reply is on maximum primary. You are telling what, 4, secondary 3. Why 4? Why not 2? Why not 1? Why not other?
Sir, this is the maximum. You can make
Why?
only one.
Hmm?
One. You can also make 1, 2, or 3, and
Nee, nee.
at least
That is true, but maximum limit.
does not know, sir.
Achha, no idea. No issue. So there is a concept of MBR, master boot record. What is the size of this master boot record? What is the size of this master boot record? This is the first sector of the hard disk. Please reply on the chat box. What is the size of the master boot record? This is 512. What is the unit? Can you guess? Anyone? It's bytes, 512 bytes. Now, out of 512 bytes, it is further break down into three portions. 446 byte for the partition information. 64, 446 is for the bootloader. Here I will type bootloader, 64 for the partition information, and 2 byte for the signature. 2 byte for the signature. So now what are the bootloaders are there in Windows? Window NT is there. And in case of Linux, we have LILO, Linux loader. And another is Grand Unified Bootloader, GRUB. So in next session, we'll discuss about these two bootloaders. Now, because of this reason, maximum primary partitions can be 4 only. So let's say, shall I clear this portion? Now I need to type somewhere. Shall I clear this portion?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. So now we can make, let's say we have a hard disk of 256 GB. And let's say we have created 4 primary partitions of 100 MB. Even though we have more than 255 GB left with us, but system will not allow, it will say insufficient. If you try to make another partition, it will tell you insufficient space. You can try also, and then it will not make any, inside the virtualization environment, you try to install another instance and try to make 4 partitions, and after that try to make another partition. And while making partition, give these option as a primary. So because of this reason, maximum could be four primary partitions. Now, if we have to make more than four partitions, so we have to compromise with this. So let's say we make three. So now extended is always one. So the concept is like this. So let's say we have 256 GB partition. One is of 100 primary one, another of primary two, primary three. So extended, now this will be primary one, primary two, primary three. So this will be now extended. So let's say we have given the size extended of let's say 1000 MB. So we cannot use this space. We cannot use this space. So we can make now partitions here. These partitions are known as secondary partition. So depend on the kernel. If it's earlier, if it could be hard disk is also further classified into various categories: integrated device, IDE, SATA, SCSI, and now. So this is defined by the HD. The name is defined as a HD in this earlier kernel version. And our, because in Linux there is no concept of like C drive, D drive, E drive. So name starts with HD or SD. But from kernel 2.28 onwards, whether it's IDE, SATA or SCSI, it is replaced with the SD. So when we see the partitions, so we'll see SD. Let's say we have two hard disks in our machines. If we have two hard disks, so it will be represented by SDA, SDB. When you mount your pen drive in hard drive in Linux environment, it will show as a SDC or SDD. And partitions are represented by numbers: SDA1, SDA2. So these are primary partitions are there. These are the primary partition numbers. So let's say we have a scenario of two primary partitions, and nowadays there is no such limitation of the kernel. Earlier there was for IDE it was 32, and for SCSI and SATA it was 64 partitions we could make. But nowadays there is no such limitation. So let's say we are making two primary partitions, and let's say we are creating 5 secondary partitions. So the names will be SDA1 for primary partition, SDA2, then 3 and 4 is reserved, then SDA5 and onwards, like this. So how to see this partition? There is a command df. In next class I will share you with some Linux commands, essential commands. So we can use disk free, -h, human readable, fdisk. So we can use all these commands. I hope now you got some idea. So primary partitions could be only 4. So what is a partition? So it's we are converting the physical drive into logical drives to store our data. And partition can also be defined as a contiguous set of blocks on a drive, and they are treated as independent disk. Because when in the examination they may ask you about the links. What is link? So links are further divided into hard link and soft link. So for the time being, hard link cannot be made on different partitions. Okay. Let me tell you about these links. Again, when we talk on the commands, so what is links? It's just like a shortcut, like you created on your Windows environment, right click and create a shortcut. So link is further classified into soft and hard, and the command is ln. So the one of the difference is that hard disk cannot be, if you have two partitions like in Windows C and D, you can make a shortcut of the data which is in the D drive, and you can store that, or destination could be on the source could be in C drive and destination could be in D drive. But that hard link cannot be make on different this. So that also we'll discuss when we'll come to the commands about links or what are the difference. There are 3-4 differences are there how to create the links, soft link and hard links. So the time being you just remember this, it cannot be made on the different partitions. So partition, like if you compare with the Windows, we have C partition, D partition, E partition, drives. So it is a contiguous set of blocks on a drive and treated as an independent disk. And partition table is an index that relates section of the hard drive to partition, and there is a partition table is there, and that is related to the index. Now there is why multiple partitions are required. So for example, let's say you have a hard drive of 100 GB. If you store, and in case of Windows, everything is under this root C, whereas in Linux it is represented by the root. It is a root. So all your directories are under like home, under bin, then you have boot, etc, etc. So now if you, let's say you have stored everything under boot and you have given here 100 GB partition and store as under this. So when your hard disk get 100% full, your system will not be able to boot. Because of this reason, it is recommended to keep boot partition as a separate partition. So you can give it 100 MB because the kernel size is hardly, earlier days it used to be 1.44 MB and people could carry in the floppies, and nowadays it has gone to the 5 to 6 MB, the kernel size. 5 to 6 MB kernel bootable file are under boot, so 100 MB is sufficient. So because of that reason, it is recommended to have separate partition. So it will reduce the risk of system failure in case of a partition become full and other processes. Then you can boot and you can give the space. And it is also better to have the different. Now if you are working with the web server or mail server, so what happen, or in something related to the security or firewall, so with the passage of time it will generate the logs, and all logs are stored under where directory, and with the passage of time it grows up to terabytes, these logs. There are different logs are there related to the security, day-to-day activities, log related to web server, mail server, etc. So it is always recommended to have the separate partition. So once you go to the industry and if you are looking for some kind of administrative work in the or administration in IT department, you must have this knowledge. So you must keep the separate partition, and depends on the application, what kind of application you are working on. Then partitions have these fields are there. It will let's say you have created some partition. So let's say where only, so it will have certain fields will be there. So I am representing this field by some dash, one field, third field, four different fields are there. So what are these fields? So these fields are like device. This will display the partition device name, like physical name will be, or the partition name is device SDA, let's say 3, and the name will be, let's say it's a home directory. So this is the name of the partition. Like in case of Windows also, you are making C drive, D drive, but and that is mapped to the physical hard drive. So it has a device name, and this will display the partition device name. Then you have the sector. What is the starting sector on the hard drive, and where the sector is, it's a numerical value. So let's say your sector started from 80 and ending at 480. Then it will show the size, and approximately one sector size is, now you can see it's a 400 sectors are there, because starting is 80, ending is 480. So there are 400 sectors are there, and one sector size is approximately 8 MB. If you have to convert into 8 MB, so you can see it's around 3200 MB size is there. Then it will tell the type, like in case of window we have FAT16, FAT32 and NTFS. So here also we have the partitions are there, ext2, ext3, and in latest version ext4 is also there. Then we have the mount point, where the particular location has been mounted. Now what is these file systems? So now first let me tell you. Earlier, when the partition was of ext2, and so let's say this is our storage space, and you have opened some files. So let's say you are using only this much memory. Only. And if sudden there is a power disruption, power off on, if you don't shut down the system properly, so like in Windows there is a check disk concept. So in that case, what will happen? In the ext2, it start checking the disk health, and it will not only check, it will check entire disk. So what happened? They have introduced the concept of journaling. JAURNAL. Now what is journaling? This is just like a pointer. So this journaling it's just like a pointer. It will keep track which portion of the memory is open. So let's say this much portion is open, only this much. So next time when you're in the same scenario, it will not check the entire disk. It will check only this much portion. Have you understood? So what is the difference between ext2 and ext3? In ext2, there was no concept of journaling. There was no concept. So whenever we have to do check disk, it used to check the entire hard disk. And in ext3, they have introduced the concept of journaling. So it will keep track only those portions which are open in the memory. So same thing is mentioned here in the slide. So ext2 system supports standard Unix. It was there earlier. All regular file, symbolic links, directories, and it provides the ability to assign long file names up to 255 characters. And ext3 is based on ext2 with one advantage of the journaling. So using the journaling system, we can reduce the time spent for recovering the file system after a crash, or if there is no proper shutdown. So there is no need to do the file system check on the entire file system. Then we have the virtual memory concept, swap. So now what is the swap? We can give some portion of the hard disk to the RAM. And how much RAM? Let's say you have 8 GB RAM or 4 GB RAM. So you cannot give of your own choice. The maximum swap space let's say you have given 20 GB of your hard drive. Let me note down here. Let's say you have the RAM size 8 GB and you have assigned 20 GB to the swap. So the algorithm will not use the entire 20 GB. The algorithm uses twice the size of the RAM. So that means total it may use 16 GB. It's up to the end user how much RAM, how much hard disk space they want to assign to the RAM. So swap is just like a virtual memory. So when you are working with the databases like Oracle or uh, e-commerce application, so you must give the swap size. So swap size partitions are used to support virtual memory. In other words, data is written to a swap partition where there is not enough RAM. So in this way, you can increase the size of your RAM. So same you can do inside your virtual box also. And also it has a VFAT system just like in your uh, your Unix environment. So these are the recommended partitions. So I am stopping just for 1 second, for 1 minute, and after that we'll continue. Okay. Now, what are the different partitions are recommended? So one partition is /boot. It contains the kernel bootable files. Like I told you, the bootable files are Lilo and Grub and the other related information. Then we have /partition. Everything is under this root. Then we have the where we have the web server, FTP server, and the logs. And all users are under home directory or any other partition depend on the application. So like if you are using proxy server, you can create this proxy server under different partition or under user local and squid. Then swap partition must be there. It cannot be used by the user. This is used by the system. So swap partitions are used to support the virtual memory. So data is written to swap partition when there is not enough RAM to store the data for processing. And the size of the swap should be equal to or twice your computer's memory, main memory. And these are the names. So for first primary partition, the name is HDA1. Second primary partition name is HDA2. Third, HDA3. Fourth, HDA4. And as we know now, maximum 4 partitions could be there. And for second hard drive, it is represented by B. Third hard drive is represented by C. But from kernel 2.28 onwards, these name conventions has been converted to SD, whether it's IDE based disk partition, SATA hard drive, SCSI, or the latest one, SAS hard drive. So it is represented by these partition names. So you try to mount your pen drive and try to see what type of name is there using the command fdisk or df. Then there is another concept of software RAID and LVM. Now what happens when you are working with big data or some research or cloud computing applications? So with the passage of time, your hard disk got filled. Now here I would like to ask one question. Let's say you have 3 hard drives of 1 terabyte each. Now my simple question is that, can you store 2 terabyte file? Let's say there is a single file, some compressed file of 2 terabyte. So please reply on the chat box. If the question is clear, you have 3 hard drives with your system, 1 terabyte of each, and you have a file of 2 terabyte. So can you store this?
Sir, I think no.
Okay, one question is no. What about others?
So we need to divide this file, 2 terabyte file into one. Then only.
Okay, second answer is coming. We have to we can split it. So let's say there is a restriction, we cannot split. It's a single zip file. Okay, Mr. Devesh has given some comment here. If you go with best fit method, so can you explain what is this best fit method? In this in Linux environment, understanding of question is very important. Then only we can go for the solution. Then only we can go for the solution. So we have 2 terabyte compressed file. Let's say zip file, and there is restriction, we cannot split it. And let's say we have the availabilities of 1 terabyte each with a 3 hard drive. And in industry, this is a requirement. So there is a answer reply from Devesh, best fit method. So what is this best fit method? Mr. Devesh, can you explain? So how you can save this physical file? If you have mic attached, what you can do, you log out and log in again and give the permissions to your mic. It will ask you initially, and if you don't have physical mic, then oh, it's okay. Okay, now let me explain this. So simply we cannot store this file. So what we can do, we can join these three partition, very 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte, and 1 terabyte. So now another question arises here. This is a 1 terabyte, 1 and 1. So we can combine. So is it possible to achieve like C drive or D drive with as a 3 terabyte? Please reply yes or no. Is it possible? Is it possible to combine 3 or multiple hard drive as a single partition? C drive or D drive or E drive? Can we combine?
Don't know, sir.
Okay. Any other student? So in industry, they are using this concept LVM, logical volume management. And later on, if time permits, I can demonstrate this. We can make the partitions and using this LVM, or if you're further interested, I can give you some links also where these commands are given even in Linux. So using the LVM. So using the LVM, we can shrink even in Windows latest, there is a concept of volume. So first we need to convert this into volume, and then we can expand or shrink. So as per the requirement, because when you are working with the big data and you are, let's say, consultant for an industry, so data will grow with the passage of time. Let's say company is asking that next month they may get 3 terabyte or 1.3 terabyte data. So as a consultant, initially if you suggest them go for 5 terabyte or 10 terabyte, and that may be expensive as of now. So you can recommend them 2 terabyte, and when this 2 terabyte get filled, then you must know how to attach 2 terabyte hard disk additionally, or 1 terabyte, so that and without disturbing, without doing the partitioning, without formatting the previous data. So there is a concept of LVM. Now this is the advantage, but one disadvantage is there. If any hard disk get crash, so you will lose the data. So there is another technology, RAID, RAID, redundant array of inexpensive disk. and in cloud they are using the concept of rain. Now you have studied this subject, cloud computing. Can you tell me what is this rain? What is this rain? So it's a redundant array of independent nodes. So your machine, your computer will act as a node. So there is a concept of a node. So it is mentioned here in the slide. So even you can make the RAID. Again, in RAID there are different categories are there. Whether you want to make RAID 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then combination of 1 and 0, 10, 2 and 0, 20, 40, like that. So next is about the bootloader. Okay, Mr. Anand has asked, can we series combination? Yes, using LVM, we can make the series combination. So in industry, there is a combination of both RAID and LVM. So what is the meaning of this stripe? So let's say you have 3 hard drive. Mirroring is very clear. Mirroring means minimum hard disk required are 2. So whatever you are writing on one hard drive, so its mirror is going in the next hard drive. So if you have 1 terabyte data, so again you will have the 1 terabyte of data. So now tell me, end user will get how much space? How much space will be available to the end user in mirroring? So the space availability to the end user will be 1 terabyte only, because whatever he is writing here, same is written here. So if your application is very critical, transaction based or e-commerce based, you must go for the mirroring. Then there is a concept of let's say you have 3 hard drives. So whatever you are writing, data is going parallelly written here. So let's say if it's taking 30 minutes to write on one hard drive, using the concept of stripe data, you can increase the speed. So parallelly you are writing on the 3 hard drives. So it will take 30 divided by 3, 10 minutes. So when you have multimedia application or when you are doing video editing, so there you can use this RAID 1. And in RAID 2, RAID 3 and RAID 4 is obsolete because that was working on the bit, byte, and in RAID 4 it was working on the block of data was there. But in RAID 4, if you are, let's say there is one hard drive is dedicated for the parity check. So if you are writing data here and the parity is going right on this machine, on this physical hard drive, and if this get crashed, so your data is safe, but after that when you are writing data, then you will not be able to retrieve the data. So in RAID 5, what they have done, so they have distributed the parity. So instead of dedicating one hard drive, so parity is here also, and here also. So at any point of time, if any hard disk crash, whether this or this or this, so you will be able to retrieve your data. So in our institute, we are using RAID 5. So most of the organization, they adopt for RAID 5. And for our educational television, ETV department, when they are doing a lot of editing with the videos, so they are using RAID 0. Next is what the bootloader. When you boot your machine, the first operation is a post power on self test. Then BIOS, the instruction go to the BIOS to load an operating system to look for the first sector. And what is our first sector of the hard drive? That is master boot record. And on the first hard drive, it reads at the master boot record, and our bootloader is initialized from there. And depending on the bootloader, additional file will be loaded. And this is the step to bootloader, and this is the information of your hard drive. So you can see the partitions. So whether your you have old IDE based hard drive or this, instead of HD you will see the SD there. And this is showing this is a dual machine with the Windows installation. We can see the NTFS technology, a file system, and this is the other partitions. So here you can see this is a physical drive, physical space, device, HDA1, HDA2. So now it is clear from here. There is no HDA3 and HDA4. So now we can see here. So there are two primary partitions and remaining are secondary partitions. And what type of partition is there? File system. Like here we can see this is for the swap used by the system, not by the user. HDA7, and remaining are EXT3 and NTFS and VFAT. And this is the size. And this is the starting cylinder and end. So here you can see it's 2500 multiplied by approximately 8. So you will get 20,000 MB size. So easily from the cylinder size you can derive now the size. So let's say for this example 5363 and the ending is on 5376. So if you subtract this value from the end value, you will get approximately 13. The difference is 13. So you can multiply that 13 with the 8. So when you multiply this 13 with the, because we know the one cylinder size is approximately of 8. Some 8.5 or 8.6 MB. So you will see the size is 110 MB. So this information will give you the advantage when you have to do partitions. So let's say you are using disk drive utility or some other. So if the size option is not available, so you must know the cylinder. So you can give the cylinder starting and end, and accordingly you will get the size. So now I hope you got information related to partition, the device, mount point, type, format, size, starting and end.
Yes, sir.
And now when you do the partition, it will ask you the mount point. If it's swap, then you cannot give that. And in this way, you can proceed further. So you can try to do this, and this is related to the boot, where we have the kernel, bootable files, and we can give the type ext2, ext3, ext4, vfat, ntfs, format, partition, and in this way we can give there. So now next is about the root partition. So here we are giving the size, and here we are giving it. So most of the time end users, they give the auto partitions. So because of that reason, they are not able to customize. So you must do the customization. And also there is option for the RAID and LVM. So now in this way we got the 3 partitions, and remaining is like your GUI based. You can give the bootloader option. This is optional, because sometimes if we forget the root, like in Windows we have the administrator as a username, and in Windows we have the root as a super user. ROOT. And if we forget the password, we can press the E, and then we can go to the bootloader and we can recover that password. But if you want to give further restriction, then we can set the bootloader password also. Then if we are making dual boot, so you want to give default booting to either Windows or Linux. That means if you are not pressing the enter key, and automatically it will boot into RHEL, or you want to make into XP. So it is showing the partition where it is installed, and this is where it is installed. Then remaining are the network configuration, whether you want to make active on boot and how you want to get the IP, whether manual or through DHCP server. So if you want to get from the DHCP server, you can give, and you can give the host name of your machine. Then whether you want to enable the firewall or not. So if you want to make enable, then what services you want to allow. So web server, file transfer, mail server, all these things you can add. Whether you want to enable SE Linux or not. So in Fedora, in RHEL CentOS Fedora, by default this is active. So this is a security enhanced Linux, and if you're not much comfortable with this, you must disable this, and it provides the finer grained security. Then these are the additional language that you want to install. Then like here time zone, so we refer the Kolkata or plus 530, so we can select from here. Then you give the password, root password, and these are the desktop environment. So even though there are different desktop environments are there, Genome is the default one. Then these are the other packages installation, what you want to install. So once you click on default, it will install default, and if you click on the customize, it will give the customize option. Under the customize option, you can install various servers, you can install various applications, you can install various compilers, you can install administrative tools, system tools, printing support, or you can install minimal or everything. Then you can proceed further. It will ask for the distribution that is already there in the ISO format, and you can install further. And remaining are like this. So one more slide. Okay, so now we left with the 10-20 minutes. Just let me show you the Linux environment. So now I'm shifting to my Linux machine. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Now I have shifted to another machine, and I am sharing the screen. Can you see the screen I am opening now? I am trying to open one terminal. Can you see this Linux environment? Your screen is still
No, sir.
okay. Can you see now the
yes,
environment?
sir. Yes.
So this is you want to know how to see the flavor or kernel version. So next class I will share some commands just to show you what we have discussed so far. So here I am writing one command, uname minus r. Can you see, or shall I zoom it? I have written some command. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Or shall I zoom it?
Sir, please zoom it.
Oh, can you see now?
Yes, sir.
So here I have given the name uname minus R for kernel. So which kernel I am using? I am using 4.4.0. And what is the latest kernel? So you can go to this website kernel.org. You can download the source code also. Can you see this version, Linux kernel?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So here you have 4.4 this Linux kernel, and you can download this source code. So just to see, all code is written in C language. So you can go to their engine.kernel.org also on this kernel.org GitHub, or download the release and you try to see here. So you'll get the better idea. And now I want to see some more information. So these are the switches are there. I'm giving the switch here. Uname minus A. So A for all. I can see the it is showing Ubuntu, it's showing the environment, Linux, the Intel related architecture. Now I want to see whether I am using Ubuntu 16, 18, 20 or some other version. So I can see that LSB release minus A. So now using this command, I can see I'm using Ubuntu 16.04 LTS long-term support. Now in Linux, I'm opening here gedit. One more thing about the partitions. So now when I use this command df minus h, you can see the n number of partitions it is showing. These are being used by like PyCharm. I'm using snap something. Now the other partition is here. My main partitions are under. I have highlighted here SDB SDA1. So that means it has two hard drives. And what is the size of this SDB? Anyone? Can you see this line where I have highlighted? Please reply.
Yes, sir.
So what is the size of this hard drive?
1.8 TB,
Right.
means 2 TB.
So, yeah. So you can see here, this is a physical hard drive. This is a physical hard drive. This is a size and how much used. This much has been used. This much space is left. And this is a percentage, and where it is mounted. It is mounted on this folder. And where is my SDA1? So boot EFI. So in this way, now you got the idea about the, and where it is my root. It is around 500 GB and used 94 percentage DF. So I can also see F disk minus L. Now when I'm trying to run this command, it is showing permission denied. Now anyone can tell me why it is showing permission denied? because when you see the dollar, by default this is for the normal user, and when there is a hash, it is for the super user. So either I have to log in as a super user, I can switch from here, or I can give the sudo command. So sudo command is that normal uh, has the rights to run this. Now I can run the fdisk minus l. When I run this command fdisk minus l, it's showing all the partitions. So for this device, these many sectors are there. So from sectors we can calculate the size, then different other sectors, and for device these many sectors are there. Approximately 39 million sectors are there, and the unit we can calculate 1 into 512 byte. So these are the sectors, and just all of you just note down one thing. These commands, you use any distribution, all these commands are resides under 6 directories. So I will take another 5 minutes, then we'll close. So all the commands resides under, let me see if I can increase the size. So whatever commands we work with the Linux, they resides under 6 directories. So please note down these 6 directories name. So one directory is /bin, because everything is under root. Second is the sbin, like I tried fdisk. So fdisk is under sbin, system related commands. Then we have user bin, user sbin, user local bin, and the, so have you noted down these directories? User local sbin. So most of the commands are under bin sbin. That means if you want to make your own script, shell script, or you can make your own script or your own command, copy that in this directory. So just like I was using df, fdisk, lsb release, uname. So that command is residing any of these directory. And how to see where that command is there? So we can see where is, and the cmd means command name. And if you want to see what that command do, we can say what is command. And if you want to see more detail where the file help files are, we can use which command. So now I'm going to demonstrate to you these command, where is, what is, and which. Whenever your third party softwares like CloudSim, NS2, NS3, MATLAB, or Scilab, or your research or Jupyter Notebook, Anaconda, so those commands normally stored under user local bin. By default, these are empty initially. So as you install third-party software, those commands get stored under these directories. So now I'm going to demonstrate to you these where is, what is, and which. So now we have used which commands. So using the arrow keys, we can see what the commands we can use, or there is also one command, history. Using history also we can see what are the commands we have used earlier, and we can use the pipeline. So what is this pipeline? We'll see in other class. So using this we can go up and down using this pipeline. So many commands we have already used. So now, like here, conda install open python, etc., etc. So now we want to see where is this command. So we'll say what it do. First we want to see what is history. That will tell us. It will tell us the GNU history library. What is df? So it will report the file system disk space usage. And if you want to see in detail, we can use manual df with all the commands, and with all the options will come here. Like here you can see minus a by b k, like I used earlier. Which command I used in the initially? I used lsb release minus a. So what are the switches are there? So we can use manual, and we can see here. It will tell us the Linux standard base and distribution. And in this way we can see these are the switches. Minus R for release, code name, A for all, etc. Now if we see what is LSB release, so it will print the distribution specific information. Now I want to see where is this command. So I will say where is LSB release. So it is showing it is under user bin along with the help file where is the manual is there. If I say which LSB release, so it will tell only the where the file is there, not the manual or where the help file is there. So in this way we can see. Now I want to see what is MATLAB. I have already installed MATLAB in this. So it is showing nothing appropriate because this is not the part of the Linux. And if I say where is MATLAB, so it is showing it is under user local bin. User local bin. And if I want to see about the fdisk utility, so I can use fdisk. So it is showing under sbin. So now I stop here. So any question query so far? Any question query? Any question query?
No, sir.
So now I'm now shifting to Windows platform. So now can you see this notepad?
Yes, sir.
So today we discussed about the Linux installation, the how to go for installation, hypervisor. We talked about the virtualization, create the environment installation. There we have seen about the partitions, and also we have seen the little concept of RAID and LVM, where we can use RAID and LVM. And then we talked on the partition installation process, and then we have seen about the some of the commands.